Sight words are not words students memorize. They're words students learn to read automatically, and how they get there matters. If you're new here, my name is Anna Geiger. I'm the author of Reach All Readers and creator of the Reach All Readers course and podcast, and I'm here to help you understand and apply the science of reading. When we talk about introducing sight words, it's really important to clarify what we're talking about when we say sight words. Traditionally, teachers have thought of sight words as words students have to memorize because the patterns are irregular, or at least phonically irregular. But actually, researchers refer to sight words as words we know automatically without having to sound out or guess. So if I showed you a sign and I said, don't read it, you'd have to read it instantly, right? You couldn't help yourself. You see the words, you've read it. You have mapped those words in your brain. That's what we want for our students. As a fluent adult reader, you know anything from 30,000 to 70,000 words automatically. You see them, you read them. You can't help it, they're mapped in your brain. How do we get there though? How do we help our students do that? How do we build their sight word vocabulary? We talk a lot about sight words because we're typically talking about high frequency words. Words that we want students to know automatically because they encounter them so often in print. So we often give those words extra attention, especially if the patterns are not what we would expect. So again, a word becomes a sight word when you read it automatically without having to sound it out. But how does that happen? Is it because you're memorizing the shape of the word? No, it's because you've connected the sounds to the letters through a mental process called orthographic mapping. For a long time, this wasn't understood by most teachers, myself included. Because some high-frequency words don't follow the most common spelling patterns, we assumed that you'd have to memorize them, that you couldn't sound them out at all. The solution was whole word memorizing, remembering the shape of the word, or using what Lynn Stone calls word coffins. No, it's true, you can memorize some words by their shape, but if that's the way we're teaching students to read, we're setting them up to fail, because their brain is going to reach a capacity for storing those images. Some kindergarten teachers have a long list of sight words their students are required to memorize before the year is done. And sometimes they find that the further down the list they get, the less students remember the words taught at the beginning. The problem is the students never really mapped them in the first place. They were memorizing them by shape and their brain has reached a capacity. The reality is that most high-frequency words can be explained, even when the spelling includes something students don't expect, or include letters that are there for historical reasons. We can still introduce the words in a way that promotes orthographic mapping. And now I do want to say that when students are just starting to learn to read, so we're saying beginning of kindergarten, it's okay to teach a small set of words to be memorized, and that's because we need to get them on the path to reading their decodable books. For example, the word the is a word students are going to encounter from the very beginning. However, they probably haven't been taught that th can spell th, and they probably don't know about the schwa that we hear at the end of that word, the. That said, we can still introduce the words with an attention to phonics and, of course, meaning. When it comes to teaching the small bank of words at the very beginning, I like to think of it as getting the car started. So we can teach the before we've explicitly taught that th is a sound for th, or we've taught about the schwa. We can teach to before students understand different pronunciations for the letter O. We can teach is before students have learned that S can be used to spell Z. But I still recommend introducing those words in a thoughtful way. Here's the procedure that I recommend. Name the word, have students repeat it, use the word in a sentence, break the word into its sounds, spell those sounds, address spellings in whatever way feels appropriate, address the meaning of the word, and practice reading and spelling the word as appropriate. So let's take a look at a sample lesson that I have in my membership, Reach All Readers Plus, for the word the. So the teacher lesson you'll see on the left and the student material is on the right. Today, you're going to read and write the word the. Our sentence is, the library is closed today. When I pause, add the word the. Please close the door. He fed the cat. I see the missing book on the table. And then I would map and read the word with my students. Now, sometimes this part may look different if the word has more of a historical reason for the spelling. For example, extra letters that aren't explained by the sounds, but in this case, it's pretty straightforward. So I would say the word, the, and then we would say the sounds in the word, Say the sounds again. This time, push a counter into the top row of boxes as you say each sound. Ready? How many sounds are in the word the? That's right, 2. Let's write the letters below the counters. What's the first sound? Th. Two letters spell the sound th. They are th. Write th under the first gem. What's the second sound? That's right, Usually we use u to spell but in this word we're going to use the letter e. Now if I'm doing this with beginning of the year kindergartners, it's likely they're not ready to do all this writing, so I might just demonstrate this on the board. But what you can see is I'm very slowly walking them through the letters that are used to spell the sounds. Let's look at the word. Here's how we spell the. T-H-E. Say the spelling with me. T-H-E. Read the word, the. Now it's very important that we focus on the meaning of the word. So I would tell my students, we use the word the to talk about something specific. If your mom said, get a dog, you could bring her any dog. But if she said, get the dog, you'd know it meant your family's dog. We also use the word the when there's only one of something. You wouldn't say, a moon is shining because we only have one moon. You would say, the moon is shining. So point to the pictures as I read the sentences. Number 1, the sun is bright today. Box number 2, I ate the last cookie. Now sometimes we pronounce the word the. We might say, this is the end of the book, but we always spell it T-H-E. Now, put your finger on the star and let's sound out the words. Of course, we'd only do this if we've already taught our students how to decode words. This may be a little bit premature for students learning the at the beginning of the year, but if your students are already sounding out CVC words, you want them to practice the in context. And then we could trace the word, write it, and spell it. You might also do something called arm tap spelling, where you tap different parts of the arm by grapheme. So I wouldn't do T-H-E because the T-H works together to spell V. So I might go T-H-E, T-H-E, the. Of course, this was just the introduction of the word. It's not the end. We want to incorporate many opportunities to practice the word in context, probably in the decodable text that our students are reading. But you can also have students practice reading it within phrases. Reading high-frequency words automatically is important for automaticity, and that's the foundation of fluency. After all, if high-frequency words are tripping our students up, their reading is going to be full of stops and starts. I would love to give you more support when it comes to building fluency, so you're invited to join my Fluency Formula Workshop. In the workshop, we'll look closely at what research tells us about how fluency develops, and I'll share practical routines that you can use right away to build automatic word recognition without turning reading into a race. If you want to feel confident teaching high-frequency words in a way that sticks, as well as other aspects of building fluency, you're invited to the Fluency Formula, and you can find the link below this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.